back in the Winter Wolf's den for FrostCast episode 3. Winter Wolf is the good-looking guy in the glasses and the hat. King Z is the better-looking guy over there with no hat in the dark, blurry room. We'll work on that. We gotta get you some tight background to reflect the secure nature of the location that you're broadcasting from. Guarding pop culture's closely guarded secrets, of course.
No,
You'll have
it's
to up
just
that
that
game a
I
little bit.
haven't unpacked yet back here. So
Still, come on, we ain't got time to mess around with backgrounds. But we're happy to welcome you guys back for episode 3 of the FrostCast. Lots of stuff to talk about today. As you guys probably know, Disney had their big convention over the weekend. 72 hours ago. It's a little bit more. Next starts Friday, runs Saturday, Sunday, right? It's like a Comic-Con, runs all 3 days. So big announcements come out, a lot of familiar ground to cover. I think in the release, it seems kind of muted compared to last year's D23. I don't know what they call it, D22 last year. I don't know what the nomenclature is.
I think it's D23 always. So
yeah, that's what I thought. I couldn't ever remember hearing about D11 or anything like that. It's not D12. It's not Dungeons and Dragons dice in here. But it seemed kind of muted this year to me, despite the obvious potential to have some big announcements with Marvel, the Star Wars stuff, some of their other more Disney family brand stuff with the animated things that they typically announce. But we got a lot of stuff we're going to cover here. And without any further ado, I say we jump right in. You ready, dude?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. To bring me up that collage. That's all. Let's go block 1. We're going to talk. You guys saw it on the thumbnail, and I'll set it up here, and then I'll let King Z take a rip at it because I'm pretty sure he's going to come out on the same level I am. Dude, creativing is hard, really, really hard. And when we take a look at this, some of the biggest announcements that come out of all the presenters' mouths over the weekend, dude, we've got number after sequel after follow-up after, derivative after, I don't know, man. Look at all this stuff. I ain't seen so many 2s, 3s, and letters since an algebra class that I failed in 7th grade. Look at this stuff. I mean, dude, when I threw this graphic at you, just despite the obvious professional quality that I laid on it, what did this say to you when you saw this?
Well, mostly cash grab.
Ooh, okay. So no, bring that back up. Bring that back up. Bring that back up.
Okay, one more time.
Now we're gonna leave it there for a quick minute because I got questions about some of these. But tell me more about cash grab here.
So you have to think we are in a economy that could possibly be going into recession. I mean, they throw around the R word a lot all the time. Every year we're possibly going to recession. But when you say that word, it frightens people, and mostly the film industry, because they put so much money into it. They want at least a return on their investment. So they usually take the safe bet. That's why you don't see many new original stories or books being optioned to be turned into movies that don't have huge fan bases, or that's the books that have been out for like years. Mm-hmm. So like what they're doing is just banking on their IPs that they own, that they know people are going to go to see, and hoping that it will continue the movie going flow. By doing this, they're just trying to hedge their bets to make sure, these movies are profitable. And that's why I say cash grab, is because they're banking on, and as you can see, most of these are going to be animated, like Toy Story 5, Incredibles 3, Lilo and Stitch, which everybody's been waiting for a sequel to that one. That's probably the longest sequel on here that people have been waiting for.
Moana Incredibles 2, is no slouch either. Incredibles is no slouch either in that department. That's at least 10 years.
And like Moana, they've been hinting at that for years. So, I mean, there's no big surprise here that they're doing this. It's just to make sure that they make their money back, especially after such a bad year they've had last year in the box office. This year they're doing a little bit better, mostly thanks to Deadpool and Wolverine. So they're getting some of that money back that they invested in other projects. The problem is that they're not using that money to invest in like new IPs or new stories that could bring in a whole new audience, or just to give us something else to watch other than the same story over and over again.
I agree with you dead on there. I think they desperately need, moving forward, next calendar year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years out, to find a better balance between losing some of this risk aversion that we know they have, what you just mentioned about getting that ROI by banking on familiar concepts, profitable titles. It's not just Disney. It's not just family dramas or cartoons, animated stuff. It's everything. It's why you get horror movies that just keep pumping. A nostalgia grab. She ain't wrong, right? it's everybody does it because they do bank on the kind of thing you said, but I want them to strike a better balance here. There's 1,000,000,005 spec scripts out there, 1,000,000,005 fan fiction scripts out there, people that have great new ideas. There could be option for a song, and if they get stuck with a modest production budget, you might actually find the new thing that becomes, and that would be like wide-eyed thinking for any screenwriter. You might find the new Terminator out there. You know what I mean? You might find the new pick your franchise, the new Star Trek or something. You know what I mean? They have to open their eyes and realize they can't keep going back to the well with some of the selections they've made. Because I mean, look at this list, right? Nothing on this screen to me jumps to automatic hit, probably besides Frozen 3 and probably The Incredibles. Right? A
Moana
lot of
2.
this other Moana 2, but see, Moana 2 is a bit of a loaded, it's a stacked deck on that one because that I understand isn't an original feature film. It's a series that they had been working on forever that's being repurposed into a feature length thing. So Moana 2, best one on the list. And I don't know, man. It might be. I think in terms of bang for the buck, I think Frozen 3 is probably going to crush it. That entire franchise dominated the world for like 4 years on launch. You know, Incredibles could do some bank, but I mean, look at all the Marvel stuff on here, just on the, if we swing it over there, right? Who's signing up to Disney Plus for Ironheart? No one. Not a soul. Daredevil Born Again.
Yes.
I've seen that show. It's not going to get anybody to sign up or come back. It'll be interesting to those of us that stuck around. But are you coming back for that?
For Daredevil Born Again, especially after everything I've been reading about it and all the articles from the actors who pretty much took ownership of this this show, forced rewrites, forced people to be cast. Like they really pushed it. Like Punisher, he said that this has a whole different feel of it than anyone else.
I mean, see, that might be the strongest offering of the stuff on the collage of going back. Well, I feel like I've seen that show before. I think they had already used elements from the Born Again story arc in season, I think it was season 2 of Daredevil on Netflix. I mean, I don't mind so much the rehash because, like you said, you've got some powerhouse performers on that show. But honestly, when we're talking about things like Ironheart or Agatha on the small screen, all I'm hearing is more. What was that garbage show that we watched from them? I always say, it's not Secret War, Secret Invasion.
Yep.
I saw, because just on the subject of the Marvel stuff, I saw the Ironheart stuff. We're going to talk about that later. Dude, right there from Heather M again. Dude, zero interest in Ironheart. It's a crap character that, again, it's a hand-me-down character. It was in print for like 12 issues. Nobody bought the book. There's zero interest overall for that role. I'm not showing up for Ironheart the same way. Like, I mean, we'll begrudgingly watch it because we need something to do. But I mean, if there's Ironheart fans out there, let us know what's your favorite part about her, and would you not have preferred an original character drawn and written for you instead of somebody giving you a hand-me-down Stark Tech suit? You know, like I feel like the creative should be doing better.
Well, but I mean there is Ironheart in the MCU. It was Pepper Potts was actually Ironheart.
She was Rescue. Ironheart showed up in Wakanda Forever, actually as Ironheart as Riri Williams. Pepper Potts had her own. She had an iron suit, but she was Rescue. Yeah, Wakanda Forever handled Ironheart. Nope, definitely not, because they had Riri Williams live action already in Wakanda Forever, and the suit looked awful there. I can't imagine it's going to translate any better to small screen given the limitations. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. My takeaway from the entire collage that I'm seeing here is general underwhelming, except for maybe Incredibles. I know people have soft spots for things like Moana and Frozen. Lilo and Stitch, I think, is a great pickup by you. It's 25 years overdue, and on top of that coming out, I don't know where else they're going with the live action stuff from there that's going to make any damn bit of difference, because I feel like this Snow White situation over there is going to bury that idea for a long while after that comes out. You know, she's back in the news again. Our buddy Rachel is back in the news making even more dumbass statements. And dude, 460,000 dislikes later on that trailer. I don't know. Like, I thought the PR folks at Disney pulled that check aside and were like, yeah, listen, this shit's costing us $400 million. Stop it. Like, shut your trap. Yeah, we can't have that anymore. I don't know. I just wish that studio and King Z, you write stuff, man, you know. Like there's folks out there that have the next best thing like on their hard drives, printed a hard paper copy on their desks, ready to go, ready to take notes and like join the fray and put something new, something inspiring out there. And like you said, they're so risk averse that they think the only thing they can do, not Disney, but is give you Fast and Furious 15. I just don't see it that way. Well, it's not my Snow White. Mine neither. And from the looks of those dislikes, nobody's, but what are you going to do? You know, I just think there's a whole world of stories. We say this all the time. Like there's a whole world's worth of stories out there that could be adapted, even if you didn't have something 100% bona fide, brand new to tell that you just came up with. You can adapt mythology from everywhere. You can adapt folklore from literally everywhere on the planet. And we haven't yet scratched the surface of that, but we're going to retell Snow White and dismantle it, deconstruct it down to the most miserable thing we can deconstruct it down to, remove the magic, remove the supernatural from it, make it an anti-patriarchy piece, and hope for the best. Good luck when it bombs. I mean, good luck. Your money, not mine. But I don't know. I don't own stock in Disney. I don't care what they do.
Neither do I. Neither do I.
You got anything else on the lack of creativity, or are we moving on? What are we doing here today?
No, I think that should cover it. The only one that's actually kind of original it's original for Disney, like Deadpool said, the R rating's not new to me, but it's new to Disney. This is the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four down there, and they dropped some first looks. What you think of that?
Yeah, dude, for our second block tonight, that's exactly what we're talking about. Dude, your segues are getting much better through episode 3, dude. Nicely done. You're setting me up really good. It's like a good bump set spike volleyball move. Dude, you know what? This might be next year's Deadpool for me because I gotta hand it to you. You were on the Deadpool train from the first Super Bowl first look. You said, dude, this movie's gonna go gangbusters. Dude, kudos to you for calling that. I was not on board. I'm kind of like, it might have been too long. It might not work. I don't know. Cash grab, all my usual cynical crap, right? Made bank. Fantastic Four, after having seen what they're going for, I might have to do my cynicism reversal move here. It's like I threw you against the ropes. You came in. I got behind you for the rear naked choke. Like it might have to be a reversal on our optimism cynicism thing. I like the 60s retro vibe. They look like they were going for, like 60s future retro kind of thing. It looked kind of nifty. The cast, when they're suited up with the lighting and the makeup, better than when they're sitting on a panel not looking like the Fantastic Four, besides Vanessa Kirby. So I did kind of like the limited looks we saw. And I apologize, guys. I was told we can't show any of the stuff from D23. Other people have told me it's getting channel struck, so we can't actually show you the images. We do have one still that we can share, though, if you just want to throw that up there real quick before I forget. So, I mean, there's the first family right there. And so we don't know what, Johnny Storm's going to look like when he's done the flame on bit. But I mean, and Ben Grimm obviously is the thing. Yeah. But I get the vibe. Like it's very 60s, father of the family, brother, sister, twins, best friend guy, scientists, space pilots, all that interesting shit.
And what did you think? That's the feel of the Fantastic Four, is that is one big family. I mean, of course, Reed Richards and Sue Storm get married. Grimm was always like the older protective brother, and Johnny Storm is literally the brother of Susan Storm. So it is, and it's always been portrayed as the family, or as they refer to, the first family of Marvel. Because without the Fantastic Four, they never would have been Marvel.
For sure. And that's why I think and it's great. I don't like the title. I don't like First Steps. That's kind of weak. I wouldn't be surprised if they go with the change, but I mean, maybe it's too late in the game for that. But this is a great entry point for a reboot of the MCU. Like if they're going to go soft reboot and start doing new stuff we haven't seen, and they're going to give us Fantastic Four, they're going to bring in the X-Men, they're going to bring in new takes on things, however begrudgingly they decide to do it. Fantastic Four is a great but dangerous place to start. You all probably know the history of this film franchise. The other, 4 iterations of this movie have not been bangers.
3.
Corman, 4. Corman in the 90s, the 2 in the 2000s, and then this garbage one, the Fan 4 stick, 4 of them. One of them was never released. The 90s one never was released for public view. That's old. That's old school. Yeah. That's look that up someday. Look for the Google images of Roger Corman's thing. Thing in it looks hilarious. Is Ben Grimm. Roger Corman's Fantastic Four. Interesting look. but they've never nailed it perfectly. They've gotten different things about it correct in different places. I like the aesthetic of this, and that goes a long way because it looks like they're doing something visually different than the MCU we've gotten so far.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's at least good enough for me to tune in.
it's more of like what the future looked like in 50s cartoons.
Right. Like the Jetsons or something. Like
Yeah,
it's retro, but it's still futuristic somehow. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it looked
it's
kind
a
of cool.
retro look of what they believe where we would be living now.
Right. What did you think? Put that picture back up one more time for me because I want to get your specific. What do you think of the suit?
I think it fits the original look of the
Yep.
Fantastic Four, like the
Yeah, it's kind
comic
of really
book
cool.
original. Like it, I think it fits, and it goes with the aesthetic of all the first shots. Like I do believe they have a approved first look shot concept out that's still on YouTube that you can watch, and I think it fits that feel perfectly.
You talking about the one where they're boarding the shuttle? I wasn't sure if we could
Yeah,
share that or
there's
not. That's
that
why I
one.
didn't
Like
send it.
you have like
Yeah.
the person riding on the board, like the school,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
wearing that type of suit. I
Yeah.
mean, because back then they thought we would be wearing like onesie suits everywhere, and we would have our flying
The gray
cars.
jumper.
I mean, if you really think about it, the very
Yeah.
first Star Trek episode, the one where Captain Kirk isn't the captain, he's the
Right.
first.
Pike.
He's Captain Pike was the first
Yep.
commander of the Enterprise in the original series. Took place in 1997. That was the year.
Yep. That's crazy. That's wild, dude. When you actually state it out loud like that, man, that's crazy. But dude, I agree with you 100%. Like before, this was my first look, I think, and also total disclosure to you, I haven't watched anything that we're going to be kind of talking about. Um, it was my first look was today. Like I'd waited until as close to the show as I could get it to give you that raw reaction. But we are going to do Skeleton Crew together coming up. But when I saw this, the first thing that jumped out at me when I saw the blue and white jumper, I was like, well, it's the 60s. It looks kind of like some kind of prototypical space suit thing. Like I could see them dunking the old glass dome helmet on someone, you know? So I think you're right. I think they got the look of it correct. There's a lot of retro looking tech in that trailer as well, where like Sue Storm's operating like a computer, but it's got typewriter keys and look all like it looks almost kind of steampunkish, but it's just retro futurist, like you said. So I think the vibe is there. The casting, I guess, is okay. I need to warm up on Pedro being Reed. I'm not sure that's the best fit, but the dude can act. So I mean, I can't dog him 100%.
Yeah,
I like
well,
Anson
just the
Mount was where he's talking to Star Trek. Anson Mount as Pike is right there. Should have been Reed Richards.
it's
There you
it's
go. Easy.
Disney's plug in plug play Pedro Pascal because you know he's always going to deliver a great
Right.
performance because he's just someone you can count on.
Yeah, for sure. So I think so that led that I was all right with that. But what we're gonna do next on this half of the block here from D23, dude. If you have the trailer ready for Skeleton Crew,
Oh,
we're gonna
Skeleton Crew. Okay, hold
yeah,
on one
let's
second.
take a peek at Skeleton Crew. We'll King Z set that up because I
While you
haven't
get
watched
this
this yet.
ready, think about a question that I'm about to ask you.
Uh oh.
If you had a choice, money's not an issue. Would you go with a Tesla EV or would you go with the BMW hydrogen car?
Great question for the chat because you already know my answer because you and I have had this discussion and you sold me on this a year ago when we were talking about the hydrogen vehicles that could be a thing if we get our crap together and solve that
Yeah.
particular crisis for the rest of the time. But I'm sure a couple of folks that might be listening, I know are car enthusiasts at heart. They might have a couple of takes on not doing either one of those,
Yeah. And
especially a friend of the channel.
also in the chat, if you guys are throwing what you're looking forward to out of that collage we put up, if there's anyone that you're really looking forward to, or just a show in general that was announced, or one of the other big announcements at D23, like the park expansion and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of stuff was talked about.
Uh,
Skeleton Crew might have been a high point for them, though. I think is they gave you the first trailer here. We're gonna take a peek at this now. It's been called Goonies in space. It's been called Stranger Things in space. I have some thoughts on that, but I haven't watched this. I don't know if King Z watched this at all, or if he was holding
um,
out for today.
I think I listened to it. And by the way, Heather, the question was if you had a choice between the Tesla EV, state of the art, all the bells and whistles, or the new BMW hydrogen car that's supposed to be released next year. All right, the trailer.
Tomorrow's test will set the course of your entire future.
Don't you ever want to do anything exciting? Like what? What if we could go anywhere we want in the whole galaxy? A real adventure. No more pretend. I found something buried in the woods. What do you think it is? I think it's a lost Jedi temple. Hello? Be careful where you step. We're lost. Really lost.
Tis dangerous out there in space. Trust no one.
You're a Jedi.
Okay. So that was Skeleton Crew. What did that say? December 3rd?
I think so, yeah.
All right. You go first.
To tell you the truth, I thought it looked pretty good. I thought it was, I liked the suburban look to a Star Wars planet, something we haven't seen. Like you always see like super like planet city, or it's really rural. You haven't seen like suburban life, what it would be like in the Star Wars universe. I kind of like that. And it definitely plays into the 80s adventure type movies for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking Explorers meets the
That was a good one.
Goonies.
Yep.
So yeah, I kind of like the feel. It could have something that's really good.
I don't want to fence sit on this one. So I'm going to go in and say, of course you hate this trailer. Of course you do. Of course you do. I'm going to join you on the positive side on this one. I'm going to break ranks with my usual hatred for Star Wars, for my usual modern hatred for Star Wars, right?
Disney Star Wars.
And I don't know, because Andor is technically Disney Star Wars. I mean, everything Disney Star Wars that isn't Rogue One Andor, pretty much, and early Mando. It's too much of a mouthful to say, but anyway, I don't like the suburban part, but that's going to be there for about 15 seconds before these kids get going and get lost. So I'm okay with that. Like that's just a setup. That's the world that is. That's the status quo. That's the baseline that they're going to fall out of once the show gets moving. Now, if it happens, at the end of the first episode, fine. It should happen within the first. If it's a 30-minute thing, which is always my problem, they need to be not on whatever planet they're on, like almost immediately. I think this is a Kathleen Kennedy situation where she's recently made remarks that she wants to get out on a high note. This show's been in development for about 1,000 years, so I'm not sure this is the thing she's influenced the most. Other people have suggested that because she was an executive producer on The Goonies, that maybe she went back to the bag of tricks to try to emulate that vibe. I'm not sure that holds up, though, because the fans of things like The Goonies are people our age, older, right? Fans of Stranger Things now are also people our age that remember Goonies from back then.
Yeah.
So if Disney thinks they can market a show directly towards kids after having dumped on folks like us for like the last 8 years, I think they're mistaken. I don't think this show will be as successful as they want. Now, that's not to say that the show is good or bad at all. I wanted to point out that conundrum that they're facing, because I think that's legit. I think they're up against the wall. I need to see more of these kids. Again, these shows come out and we don't know anything about the characters ahead of time. We know very little. They meet a Jedi. We know that. I'm convinced he'll be the bad guy anyway, because I'm cynical on that front. But I guess it's all going to come down to the 4 kids. If they're all likable and they're all meaningfully different and developed, and they've all got stuff they're doing, it could be okay. Like we watched Percy Jackson last year.
Yeah.
3 kids here. There's a hero's journey story there. It's simple. It's obviously not for us, but you're a fan of the books, not the movie, or the movie's not the books. I don't remember which way you went.
It was
You're a fan of the movies. Okay. We had somebody helping us in the chat with that show about like keeping the lore straight. I remember that now, right? So for this show, that being the case, we're still going to judge this show on its own merit. Just because it's aimed at kids doesn't mean it can suck. Like a lot of people make that mistake all the time with stuff that looks like it's supposed to be just for kids. Like Bluey doesn't suck. Bluey's exceptionally well done. Those of you that have kids know know the show. Stranger Things is arguably for like teenager-ish. But this show is obviously aiming lower, I think, like Percy Jackson. But that doesn't mean it cannot make any sense. The characters can be unlikable. Nobody develops or grows or learns anything. Like Percy Jackson learned a lesson like every effing episode and like pulled hero moves every episode to get stronger and smarter and better. So hopefully this show can hit a little bit about that. I don't know if there was any other specifics that you saw here that you wanted to hit on. Or just kind of, it's not enough to see yet, really, I think.
Yeah. I think it's going to be fun. I think the that end part where we see at the end of the trailer where we see Jude Law will be the end of the first episode.
Okay. All right. Well, good, because that means hopefully they're off world already. Like that hopefully would means that they're already lost and out of the burbs.
And I think it was an 8 episode, 10 episode drop.
I know.
With the first 2 episodes dropped on day 1. I really wish they store the Netflix model. I like the Netflix model. I like the full drop, so I could sit there and just watch it.
And but then it's crushed and doesn't create that appointment viewing experience. I mean, case in point example, House of the Dragon. Until that show completely botched its season 2 finale 3 days ago or last week, people were talking like there was a story on that show online for 8 straight weeks. You know what I mean? No breaks, week to week. People are engaging, commenting with videos, posts, things like that. The content binge. A bulk of people hit it on drop, and then that's it.
But
if they get it all out of the system.
Watch network TV, I would get cable again. I don't want to watch net TV. I got streaming for streaming purposes, so I can watch show after show after show and not have to wait for new episodes. So
yeah, I mean, I get that. I think that the streaming angle works when it's 8 to 10. Maybe that's what makes it different and successful in some places. But I think we've seen Netflix roll that back a little bit where now they do the 4 or 5 episodes and then there's a 3-week break or a month break and then they bring you the second half because they want that second month of membership, and other streamers have done that too. I just finished a really long watch of Supernatural that went 15 seasons on network. Talking about getting 20 episodes plus a year. That's how you build characters. That's how you build subplots, things like that. So I miss that model badly now. Having seen that
was the old network model. Is you'd have 20
CW
episodes, you'd have your season premieres in September, and it would push through May sweeps. You'd have breaks. Like that's really the reason why it's only 20 to 22 episodes, because
that's exactly what it was. 22.
You would have Christmas breaks and stuff like that in there. So they wouldn't be filming because they're usually filming 2 episodes ahead. So they'll start filming in August. The pilot or the season premiere depends on if it's pilot season or if it's season premiere. Usually they wait till summer for pilot season to try out new shows to see what it works. Here's a question for you. Do you know why it's called a pilot?
Because if it crashes, or because it may crash, or it will likely crash. I don't know. I'm sure there's a crash angle in there somewhere. I feel like I know the answer to this, but I don't remember it right now.
Because it's the first time it's on air.
First time it's on air. I'll see. I was thinking because most of them crash, but most pilots don't crash.
I actually got it wrong because I always thought it was to see if it could fly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that. But I do miss that old model, though, man. I think that not only does that let you experiment more in real time, like because you can tell, like when you watch an old show, if a new character isn't working well, you get written out. And like then you just get referenced every now and again if you weren't awful. You can do bottle episodes that are fun. Like think of something like Scrubs where they can do a random episode and it's a musical or some shit. You know, you can't we complain about this all the time in short run shows, or even when things are dramatically excellent, like The Last of Us episode 3. Dramatically excellent did nothing for your 10 episodes that you had to tell your story, though. If you had 20 episodes of that show, you could have done like 3 episodes of that in a season and nobody would have cared. You know, you could have actually done that whole thing out. But here with 8 episodes with kid actors, I think this is going to have to stay about as predictably superficial in terms of depth as they're going to go. So my hope is it's just kind of suitably wholesome, you know, for kids. It's a traditional Star Wars concept. You know, there's good guys, there's bad guys. It's okay to be black and white in this context. Not everything needs to be morally ambiguous. Looking at you, Acolyte, still hanging at like 14%, not getting a season 2. Sorry, they didn't mention that, did they? Yeah.
No. One thing we did forget to bring up in your collage is that they did announce the second season of Percy Jackson, but another sequel. But it's the second season. Percy Jackson will. They've started filming that. They also announced the filming of the Mando Grogu movie.
Yep. There was, like, you know, and I was
3 weeks into filming now.
Yeah. I was going to mention that when we were setting up our show notes, and there is video out there that I guess you could show, but it's literally a collage of stuff from like seasons 2 and 3, and like 3 seconds of somebody standing in the Mando suit, like on a set. Like they're not doing anything.
It's all test shots. It was when The Witcher had its first video of Henry Cavill as Brawl, and he's drinking a potion. It's to see how to light him, how the makeup should go, stuff like that.
It's all craft stuff, right? Yeah. So I didn't include that. But the other thing I wanted to mention before we leave Star Wars and move on, you know what else they didn't mention at D23, and last year you remember that it was the talk of the town. Kathleen Kennedy herself came out and announced this and brought poor Daisy Ridley out on stage to talk about the Rey movie. Not a word. Not a word. I wonder why that is. I wonder why that could be. Just saying. You can announce Frozen 3 that isn't coming out until 2045 or whenever that's coming out. But they want me to believe this piece of shit's going to be out in a year and a half or 2 years, whenever, and they didn't think to just put up a crawl. We've seen them do these graphics before, right? Where they show you all the series that are in development, you know, Rogue Squadron, this, that, the other thing. And nope, not a mention. So, you know, hopefully that's tabled. But while we're talking about Star Wars, though, we did a review for Mando season 3. We both dumped on it in tandem because it was awful compared to the other 2. Put up a crawl. That'd be good. If we get, because this is happening. When Mando and Grogu comes, that's a dumbass title too, by the way. Like, it needs a title. It's got to only be a working title.
Yeah, I think. Like,
are you
like Blue Hamburger,
dude,
Blue Harvest?
Dude, it needs a title. It just needs a title, right? And it can't be Rey. It's stupid, right? Are you at all hyped to see something like that? Because we've seen 3 seasons of the show. As crap as season 3 was, it ended in a spot that made sense, I guess, for them not for, you know, the Mandalorians, but
it looked like a good wrap up. They closed off the whole I just forgot his name, the bad guy. They killed him off finally.
Oh, Moff Gideon.
Yeah, Moff Gideon, and wrapping up Bo-Katan's story.
Yawn.
So we'll see what happens. I do see they had the picture that I shot to you that was on Facebook, and that looked like the Ranger base that flying out of. That's what it looked like. It was the Ranger base that was in the background.
Which could be because the Rangers made appearances throughout you know, the Mando seasons, and at the end too, didn't one of them visit him at the ranch when he was with Baby Yoda? I think, wasn't that how the show ended?
Maybe. It was the guy who I don't remember the character's name from the show, but he's in Kim's Convenience.
Yes,
the Asian pilot guy, because he was the primary guy that was in the episode of the Rangers. Like, he was the primary. Starts with a K.
It starts with a K. It's Captain something. It's Captain letter K. I can't remember what it was. I'm almost pretty sure it was that. Yeah, no, he was supposed to be a major player alongside Gina Carano for Rangers of the New Republic. They would have been the leads.
Good
there.
Actor.
So, yeah,
I enjoy what he does. I love Kim Convenience. It was so funny.
Oh, dude. Oh, it wasn't the performer's fault that Mandalorian season 3 crashed. It was because the show sucked. Every episode was awful. I mean, give or take, I think 2 early ones. There was nothing worth a damn anywhere in season 3. I mean, remember fake Swamp Thing guy?
For what they were trying
Awful.
to do. They were going with like the monster of the week, the challenge of the week type thing.
Dude, what did I just spend 10 minutes saying about, when you have 20 episodes, you can get away with that kind of stuff. But when you've got 10 and you're trying to transition from Din Djarin being the lead character Mandalorian to the Bo-Katan re-rise of Mandalore stuff, you don't have time to screw around with anything. You have to be Johnny on the spot and effective with everything you're doing.
More episodes and staying on announcements. We brought up earlier the Daredevil with 12 to 18 episodes.
Yeah. Dude, that's like the old Netflix model. Like, I think that's how many episodes that Netflix Daredevil had. I think it was 18 to 22. Like you were saying.
I think they were 12.
It was more than 10. 100% more than 10. I thought it was more than that. It was more than that. But I think more is better. And if they stay to the runtime, the Netflix shows weren't 28-minute, spray and pray efforts. They were like 42, 44-minute long, like regular, could have been on television kind of shows. Yeah, and I think that goes a long way. Okay, dude, there you go. That's grown man stuff in terms of your series run, your season run, whichever. I think they need that. But we don't, with 8 episodes, dude, they don't get time to get into nothing will be allowed to breathe. You know what I'm saying? They'll set up a mini plot arc. It'll be resolved and moved on from instantly. Like, we won't see anybody suffer like the low to moderate side of like the consequences of any of the actions that are taken. A character could die and they'll just be over it. That's a major consequence, not even a moderate one. Like, they'll just be over it within the next episode because they have to. Like, nah, bro. Like, give me an episode where he's sulking around because so-and-so died, and he sulks for like half an episode, 3/4 of an episode, and then pulls his shit together, saves the day on some low rent kind of case, and then boom, back into the main arc. But we're not, if it's less than 10, we're never going to get that unless it's so tightly well done, and that's a rarity.
So in Netflix Marvel, the Daredevil had 3 seasons, each of them 13 episodes.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe I just binged them and I thought they were longer than that. True. But I mean, that checks out. But think about it. And I know people could say like, that's not real. Wolf, that's not a lot more. Like, no, dude, that's 3 hours. That's like another feature film, a long feature film worth of content, character development, plot development, stakes raising, whatever.
And also,
sign me up.
In the Netflix Daredevil, they were all consistently between 44 minutes and 50 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was real episode.
Have a 23-minute episode just randomly in the middle of the season.
But I don't mind beating this dead horse because I hate it so much. Imagine if somebody with an IQ over room temp got the Acolyte for 12 episodes, right? And political messaging aside, canon breaking aside, if they were actually told you get 12 episodes and we're hardcore budgeted for 44 minutes, you put together a writing team of 3, 4, 5 people tops, however many, like whatever the usual is that they do, cut that in half, right? Get a small group of people to storyboard the idea, put it together, and then break your story, like get it done. But understand you have time to do these developmental things. Then you can have time to go back and actually make sure these things translate and make sense. That's why they threw the first run of Born Again out for Daredevil, because people finally caught up with what was being developed, and they had shot shit. It wasn't just that they wrote it, like it was shot. They threw it out.
Yep.
Like it was that bad.
It was that bad.
It's like
the actors
it was that bad.
They
had to QA it right
with what they were doing, and like they were. Who was it? Punisher said, I forget his real name. Like
John Bernthal.
Yeah.
Bernthal.
He said he wouldn't come back unless Froggy and what's her name
Aaron.
came back. Aaron.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he knows, because that was she was a major player in his series. He was his attorney.
But yeah, in both series.
And Foggy,
major players, yeah. Froggy, I mean, that's Matt Murdock's best friend.
Best friend, right. Dude, who's the actor that I can never remember his name, too. Who's Private Pile? Who plays Kingpin?
Yeah,
right on the spot. Help us.
Defoe. His
No,
last name,
not Defoe. That's Willem Dafoe. He's Green Goblin. Wrong guy. Wrong villain.
His last name's still Defoe, I think.
No. What's wrong with you? Come on.
Defano.
Vincent
Vincent
D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
D'Onofrio. I'll handle the names. I got you.
Yeah. Don't have
When
me
he
tell
tells
you the name. Come on, man.
I
How
know.
long were you
Bad play.
doing
It's like-
this and
it's
know
like
that I get
my
a
first-
name right?
It's like my first show. It's not even like the exotic ones from like Asia or anything. It's D'Onofrio. But
Yeah. John Bethanol.
Erenthal. Say it.
See?
Dude, when those two guys tell you your show is awful, we're gonna walk, like, you should probably just sort that shit out. You know, like I said earlier when we were talking, one of the reasons that I'm not hyped as much for Daredevil Born Again is I feel like I've seen enough of the character, but also they just drag these two guys through two of the shittiest MCU shows on record with like record low viewing. She-Hulk for Daredevil, which wasn't bad because he was only there for like an episode or two, and he did get to kick ass while he was in it. They did that whole stupid, they tried to walk of shame him, but it didn't work. Like it doesn't track. Guys don't walk of shame after they hook up with hot girls. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
you know. And then D'Onofrio and
No Way Home.
Yeah, right. And says that's a high note, so that works. I'm saying, but they dragged him, they laid him low with She-Hulk. They laid Kingpin low with Echo, which was awful.
He was also
awful.
in Hawkeye.
I haven't seen Hawkeye. I know you have, and you enjoyed it. I was told mixed things on it, so I refrained from passing judgment.
And
I know you're a Renner guy.
Yeah,
you're a Renner guy.
And the female lead, I think, did a fantastic job, like portraying that.
I don't remember her name. The character is Kate Bishop. I don't remember
Bishop.
the actress's name, but I know she's on the rise. She's someone.
She nailed the role. So
yeah, it's not Haley Atwell. That's Peggy Carter. I always mix them two up. I know. I was hoping Heather was still in the chat. I know she knows who I'm talking about. Actually, dude, if Afakizi Gaming is in chat, maybe he could run an ID check on who played Kate Bishop. That'd be helpful. But yeah, dude, I'm okay with these guys calling some shots on that show. They can give me more Daredevil. I've only watched the series once, so if they reuse plot elements because they had also drawn from the same source, I don't mind.
Haley Steinfeld.
Oh, they're both okay. So there's two Haleys. Okay, that's probably why I was getting it mixed up. Okay, like she's been another thing. She's young, she's attractive. She obviously played the part well. I didn't hear anybody crap on her athletic ability because we've seen that come up a couple of times recently and stuff we've watched where certain older actresses kind of don't move with the same kind of authority that younger, or fluidity is a pleasant way of putting it. Looking at you, Rosario Dawson and Ahsoka. Sorry, I mean, I watched it. You watched it. She looked like she was running through sand, while Hayden Christensen, who's like 15 years older than I am, is guns blazing through the lightsaber sequences he learned 20 years ago.
But he's been on the couch and she's been acting, so
yeah, he could still move a saber though. I'm saying the flourishes was still there. Dude still knew the steps. But yeah, so I don't know about Daredevil. I mean, fingers crossed that it's better than what we got from Marvel. I definitely rank it ahead of Ironheart and Agatha. Like, there's no chance either of those two shows touch Daredevil, because at least we know. I mean, can we guarantee the fight choreography is on point with Daredevil? Because it was savage in season 1 and 2 of the Netflix
really
shows.
was.
Some of the best I'd ever seen. Especially that first alley fight in the dark alley in season 1, where he's fighting the dude and he snaps his arm invert, like he breaks the bone through. I'm like, okay, this is some shit. Like, I haven't seen this in a show in like forever. Like, this is wild.
It was extremely violent, just like the Punisher show was. Like, Netflix, they didn't pull any punches. So
no, oh God, no. They weren't there to fuck around with that. It's not an R rating. What's on sure they use movie shit too, right? So there was MA or whatever, MA 17 or whatever the highest one under Prawn.
Mature audience.
Right, MA, right. I'm like, oh, dude. So if Disney can retain, I don't expect them to give me all of it. I get that. It's not on their Hulu brand. It's going to be on D+. So they can't, because I had somebody tell me, oh, it's going to be violent as hell, because they think of something like Prey. Yeah, dude, Prey was on Hulu though. Dude, you can't watch the Predator movie Prey with the Native American girl. Like, you can't watch that on Disney Plus in America. You got to go to Hulu for that
soon, because Hulu and Disney Plus will be on the same streaming app. It'll be a single app for both of them.
But I bet it's going to be age gated or something. There's no way they're going to have, because then they could bring back all their other older films that people don't remember Disney produced through other companies. I think like Dimension and a New Line. I think one of those two was an old like Disney front. Like they own them so they could put out adult age content, not again, not adult like
Yeah,
that. Like
without putting
the rated
ears on
R
it.
stuff. Right. They could show you a fist fight that broke a dude's hand or something. So I did. All right, I'll give it moderate hopes. Like I said, I'm down to see those guys again, but the other stuff, I don't know. I'm guessing it's going to be El Trasho. And Heather says, I have the Hulu and Disney Plus package. Well, that's too bad. They're getting you twice.
You know,
Yay.
I have the Matt's
I get the umbrella.
I got
Yep.
the Matt's package, and with that, I'm gonna be getting this new show that we're gonna talk about right now as soon as I get my screen share up.
Yeah. I'm hyped to talk about this one a little bit, and I hope you have more info than I do, because I think we first heard about Welcome to Derry season 1 like pre-pandemic almost. I feel like this has been something we've talked about a long time because they had shot parts of Needful Things on the military base we grew up on. Like,
Yep.
and that shows long ago now, right?
Yeah, they were working on this for a while, and they even talked about it in this article where they're talking about that it will have a August. Actually, it's going to be looking for a creepy time release, the normal horror release time, September October release for this season 1. It's been in the works for a while because it's the same person who worked on It and It Chapter 2 movies.
Andy Muscatelli,
Yep.
something like that. Yeah.
So look at that creepy face. That's just
Dude,
awesome.
Dude, I mean, see,
So yeah, you
this
come in
is
here,
go ahead.
They've been working on it since 2017, 2019, but pandemic and strikes and just everything just keeps holding it back. But they kept moving forward because they had a vision and they've been moving forward on this. And this could be one of those new shows. Matt's is putting a lot of money into developing new shows, as well as with them combining with HBO and getting their one streaming platform. Get away from their normal stuff like Sopranos. I mean, can't beat Sopranos, but
That's also 25 years old now, man. You know what I mean? Like that's your dating the classics now.
I mean, Game of Thrones. They're gonna need something that's gonna launch them into this new platform that they have now. Like I think what Max itself has been rebranded since October of last year, and this is gonna be.
It's been at least that long.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the first major new releases because House of Dragon was already on the HBO version of it before it came. So season 2, it's technically just a sequel to something it already had. I think this will be the first Matt's branded show.
But, I see how you're drawing the distinction between what originated on the HBO cable channel versus shot specifically for streaming.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I think one of the big pluses to this show, whether or not, I mean, just if you're interested in the show at all or the movies at all, is that they still have Skarsgård. Is that they retained like the act, like they got Bill Skarsgård to continue as Pennywise. That's a huge move. That's a baller move right there to get A-list talent from movies to come to your streaming thing while they're in their prime. Like he's not like by any means out of his zone yet, like he can still get roles.
So this is going back to before the book of It. So there is no canon. There are no books. This is 100% original screenplay, just set in the world and in the America's most haunted city, Dreary, Maine. Which this line right here, this isn't America, this is Dreary. Which they have a short clip that you can find on YouTube of a I guess a sizzle reel. I mean, I think it's like a minute long.
Yeah. Yep.
So right here's a glimpse of it. Right here.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, for sure. For sure, that's it.
But yeah, it's Jeremy said it.
Let me get your take on
1960s.
Yeah.
So
let me get your take then, real quick, 5 seconds. Did you see the two It movies, like not the OG 90s one? Did you see the two new ones, and what did you think?
Yes. I loved the first one. I thought the first one was perfectly done. I mean, that is close to a perfect adaptation as you could get. Second one left a little bit to desire, but they tried so hard to capture what they got in the first one, and you try and capture lightning in a bottle once. I mean, just look at The Hobbit compared to the Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh,
you can only catch lightning in a bottle once, and they got it with Chapter 1. Chapter 2 tried really hard to capture the same magic they had in the first one. Not saying it's bad. It just didn't. It had the sequel problem. It was a sequel.
And it had double kind of the challenge too with having to then introduce and integrate the adults along with the kids and kind of play 2 movies within 1 movie. Even so that was definitely a difficult play. I'm with you. I really like the first one. It was like I had some visceral reactions, especially to Georgie at the beginning of part 1. And I was like, oh snap! All right, this movie's not fucking around. This is like modern day Jaws right here. Like they're not messing around. Like they're doing this to kids on screen. Okay, pay attention. And then part 2, I'm like, all right, whatever. I like that it's set in Derry. I like that it's set. This is where a prequel makes sense. There's no canon they can break about rewatch. Actually, that's not. I mean, I guess they could still break canon in a way, but they're not really stepping on. They're not trying to adapt anything, so they can tell that story they want. You know, they can tell whatever kind of version that they want to tell. They don't even have to address anything from the 2 movies if they don't want to, obviously, because it's a prequel. And I guess as long as the monster survives, you're good. Like, I mean, what else could they really screw up? I think my problem with the show is if you look at the casting, I don't see any kids on it. Like the youngest person there was born. The youngest person on the cast that I see was born in like '88. So it's an adult focused show. Like the principal cast of characters are all people over 30.
Well,
so
you can't read too much.
Does that work?
Matthew Perry played a teenager for 20 years. So...
I mean, this is true. This is true. I guess that makes sense. When Luke Perry on 90210 was already having like AARP membership sent to his house when he was a junior in high school, at Beverly Hills. So I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But conceptually, I'm with the show. I think Max could use a good horror show. It's the right venue for it. Like they can show you whatever they want. They can get into whatever adult theming that they want to. They don't have to pull any content punches to get away with it. So I guess that's a wait and see. But I'm down. I'm 100% down. 100% down. I don't see why. I can't see a reason why I wouldn't enjoy it unless they actually go out of their way politically to make me not enjoy it with those kind of hot button things. Like I'm old enough that I have secondhand accounts from close family members of what the 60s were like. So they can't show me a version of the 60s in Maine, that I know didn't exist because I can't suspend disbelief for that. Like it's tough. I wouldn't be able to really accept that as being what the world was like, especially because I've read the book. Like the effing book, dude, that was King on coke before political correctness. Like he wasn't fucking around. Like he told you what the world looked like. When it came to like racial stuff or sexual identity stuff, it isn't until recently that he softened on being truthful.
Yeah,
or not truthful, accurate. Truthful was the wrong word. I apologize.
Yeah, you can't pull punches. If you're trying to do a period piece, you have to say what it's like in the period. That way people will know what it was really like back then. You can't just make everything hunky-dory, put rose-colored glasses on. It was a rough time, especially if you were of any other persuasion other than white back then, to tell you the truth.
And dude, that's half the cast. I don't know if you looked at it, but I think 3 of the 5 or 3 of the 6 principal players that I saw on Wikipedia were all black.
Well, it's
like, so if they want to deal with those issues as they were dealt with contemporarily back then, great. Like that would make sense to me. But it's like, to draw a quick comparison, like I don't know if you've watched any of that new Batman show on Amazon, Cape Crusader. They're trying to show me a version of like 1930s, 1940s Gotham where like prominent public figures are like gay. And I'm like, no, probably not. Like, unless they were in entertainment, probably not. Like it wasn't a thing. Like you couldn't be a district attorney and be openly gay in 1940s New York. It just, no, like, that wasn't a thing. Like society had to come a long way to get out of that.
I mean, even if you go back to like the late 80s, early 90s, the whole movie Philadelphia was about that.
Right.
Tom Hanks.
Dude, and that was legit. Like that was the political culture of the day where like dudes were getting dragged behind pickup trucks in the deep South for being into other dudes. Like that's the world as it was in the 80s and 90s. So you can't tell me it was more progressive than that in the 40s. Like it just doesn't work. The word's verisimilitude is the word I was looking for a minute ago. Like I just know that that's not how it was. So I won't get a read on people in rural Derry, Maine being okay with like the prominent gay couple in town. Like, no, someone's throwing a brick through their window because they're a-holes, because that's what a-holes did to gay couples in the 40s or in the 60s. Fact. It's just how it was, you know?
Yeah.
And they should show that way your villains can be villains and be assholes.
Yep. And you have another layer of displeasure towards them. Not just because they're trying to be the antagonist in the story,
exactly.
but it builds on that. Like, you really have a dislike for this character.
Right. Dude, it's the opposite of save the cat. It's kick the cat in the bag. It's like when the bad guy kicks the cat, when he gets it later, you're like, yup, I told you not to kick that cat, dumbass.
That was
and you're like, you're with that, and that's all right.
In Stephen King's book that he did really well, because he built characters that you just hated, and when they finally got it, you're like, yeah, buddy.
Dude, Percy on the Green Mile is my all-time favorite to this day.
I forgot the antagonist in Under the Dome, but when he gets it at the end, I was like, yeah.
I'd have to go check that one out. But Percy went out when he gets the crap scared out of him by the one psycho inmate, and then John Coffey puts the tumor that he had taken out of the warden's wife into Percy, and it just melts his fucking brain. You know, like I'm like, yeah, dude, good, got it. See ya. What a scumbag, real life scumbag too.
Yeah, we're running low on time here, so we got one more thing we want
Let's
to
ambush
talk about, and it is we talked about Voltron and how Netflix bought Voltron and then made another animated series, now trying to make live action. Well, they're doing the reverse on this one. They're going to make a live action into a cartoon. Now, it was a cartoon back in the 80s as well. So I wonder if they're going to...
Two great cartoons. Two.
Yeah.
It was the real Ghostbusters and the Ghostbusters.
And the Ghostbusters, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they're putting together to ride off the heels of Frozen Empire, which is now on Netflix, which is only available to people who have the non-ad free or the ad-free version. You can only see
get out of here
if you have the ad-free version. And it's still number one with 10 million views since it's been released on Netflix. So dude, they're like, hey, let's go ahead and let's try to ride this cash train and make an animated show about Ghostbusters.
All right, dude, I got to pontificate on the Ghostbusters. I know we're short on time. Give me a minute here, right? I love me the Ghostbusters cartoon from back in the day, like the good one, right? Some of those episodes are legitimately horrifying and terrifying. Some of them still haunt my dreams to this day. There are some episodes that are as good as Are You Afraid of the Dark? That old Nickelodeon scary story show with the kids telling stories on the campfire. These kind of cartoons today would get a TV 14 rating slapped on them instantly. We showed them to kids after school, 3 o'clock in 1989. They were glorious. I love that show. I'm down for this show. I have a concern. I always have a concern. I hate to do it to you. I'm happy that Jason Reitman is on board he's involved somewhere with it, right? But the showrunner, if you can roll down, his name was there. It started with a K. His last name, I think it was Callan, was the last name there. It had his nope, don't see. Gil. No, that's not the guy that's the showrunner. I think he's writing. I think I mixed it. There's another name somewhere in here. Roll it up a little bit. Keep going. Just like the next paragraph up. It's Kallan is the name that's involved, I thought.
Oh, Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot Callan. That's him, right? So he's written for the new iteration of Mystery Science Theater 3000. And I checked his IMDb. He did 1,100 episodes of The Daily Show.
Wow.
So my man's coming cock locked and ready to rock with a politically leaning sense of humor. I mean, you got to have that to write on The Daily Show. I mean, whatever. But The Daily Show hasn't been funny to me for like a decade. You know?
That's why the reason they brought Jon Stewart back.
Right. And he wasn't funny to me the last 5 years he was on it. So I was always more of a Colbert guy, but he's wildly not how I lean now anyway. But still, I think this show could be fun, but I don't want it to cop out. Like I want it to border right up against that line of like entry level horror for kids, because people think that the OG Ghostbusters was like not horrifying at certain stuff. Like there are ghost effects in the Ghostbusters that hold up to this day that scare people. The librarian still scares people 100%. There's no shot. Dude, you know, like there's no chance librarian's not scared. The hellhounds, terrifying, right? So I want this cartoon to come out and be good, but the absolute second, because if it's a product of its time, I mean, hopefully, if it just got greenlit now, hopefully then that means it literally has had no work done on it at all, you know, and that I don't have to hear about, Orange Man bad. I mean, it doesn't need to have a trans character. I mean, just no, just make the show. If you have the trans character, it's got to be super interesting. And the story that they have to tell can't just be that, like coming to terms with the identity stuff. Like just tell a story otherwise. Like trans people, gay people, straight people, we all have more going on than like that. It's not a character trait on a stat sheet for Dungeons and Dragons real life edition. It's just one part of you. But I feel like that's the only story they tell when they're checking a box that isn't you and me. So I don't want that to trickle into a cartoon. Like just pick 12 terrifying monsters and scare the crap out of people. But what about you, dude? That was my 2 minutes on it. I appreciate that. I know you're out on Voltron. You were out on Bionic 6. You were out on Silverhawks. You were out on Captain Planet. You were out on a Power Rangers reboot. You were out on all the other ones I mentioned last week. Are you down for Ghostbusters animated on Netflix, though?
I'm going to wait and see because it depends on what they're going to do. Are they going to pick up at Frozen Empire? Or are they going to go back and have the original 4?
I didn't even think of that. Interesting. It's probably Frozen Empire. Now I'm a little less excited. Thanks for nothing.
I did enjoy Afterlife, so.
Afterlife was like a solid B, but there was something missing from Frozen Empire. I was really kind of bored for most of that movie. That's a talk for another day. If you've seen that, maybe we could put our heads together on that one. I don't think we reviewed that. So maybe we could do that. But yeah, dude, guys, you can let us know in the chat and the comments after it goes up. Like if there is an animated version, do you want 4 brand new or whatever, a new crew altogether? Do you want OG? Do you want OG real Ghostbusters? Do you want who do you want in the show?
Ghostbusters. Go look it up if you don't know what we're talking about.
Do you want Ghostbusters 2016 Answer the Call animated? Sad wolf face. No, nobody wants that shit. All right, dude. I think that we had a bunch of topics and we appreciate you guys sticking around. King Z, if there's nothing else that we were supposed to cover, let's stick to our time budget and read us out of here and say goodbye.
Well, bye, everybody.